Smartphones have transformed the way we communicate, giving us the world at our fingertips. But they can also expose us in embarrassing new ways. A Cincinnati Airport Board official is suing his secretary for sharing information from a phone call his smartphone made without his knowledge, also known as a pocket dial. 10 TV's Glenn McIntyre has the story, and it's new at 6.
It's been the subject of commercials.
It's your butt. Hey, butt.
And many an embarrassing misdial.
Oh, I butt dial people all the time.
When your touchscreen phone decides to reach out and touch someone without your knowledge.
I've butt dialed my boyfriend, I butt dialed my dad. You're probably the most awkward people that you can butt dial are the ones that I usually end up butt dialing.
Giving the recipient of the accidental call all ears access to whatever you're saying or doing.
Of course, my dad's gonna be like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be studying right now. Why do I hear these people in the background?
Like, it's always someone in the car singing to themselves, or my mom did it once and I just heard her talking to my little brother. So it's never been really personal information, but it's usually pretty comical.
Until it's not. A Greater Cincinnati Airport official wasn't at all amused when he pocket dialed his assistant during an especially sensitive conversation. He says unbeknownst to him, she continued to listen as he discussed getting rid of another board member. He says she shared that information, and now he's suing her for invasion of privacy.
This actually is a new question that the courts haven't actually looked at yet.
OSU law professor Rick Simmons says this is a first-of-its-kind case and a sign of the technological times.
So the question is, what right to privacy do you have in an accidental phone call you make to somebody else?
He says the law pertaining to privacy and communication is the 1968 wiretapping law intended to keep third parties like the government from listening to your calls.
Now that law is based on consent. The idea is that if you call someone, you're consenting to the fact implicitly that they might record the call. Of course, that's based on the assumption that you called them intentionally, and now we have a question where the call was not intentional.
With technology outpacing the law, Simmons says emerging issues like this could forge new legal ground. But what we hope people would do,
I would just hope that they would tell me. I hope they wouldn't be nosy like me and try to listen.
right, and what the law requires they do aren't necessarily the same thing.
The person who received the call can just say, look, I was just sitting here and the call came in. I didn't do anything wrong here. And so I think it would be hard to argue that the person receiving the call did something wrong and therefore, should be sued or pay damages for it.
So when it comes to your smartphone, handle with care.
That person that is receiving it can do whatever they want with the information. That is currently the law. So
whether you intended to make that call
right,
or not.
whether you intend to or not. So the legal advice is be careful.
Glenn McIntyre, 10 TV News.
And that is good advice. Professor Simmons says while he doesn't see a strong legal case here, if the court does allow it, the case could set precedent or be the basis for new legislation. And as technology evolves, he predicts more of these new legal issues will crop up. So, Jerry, have you ever had this happen to you?
I've had it happen to me. Cell phone in my pocket and it goes off and it's ringing to somebody and they don't know that my phone is on. It's just an awful situation.
Yeah.
But it also happens here at the anchor desk. We have a phone directly.
Uh-oh.
And that's what happens, it goes off. You see, it goes off, and in the control room, there it is, and our producer has to answer that phone, and they just hate that sort of thing. Isn't that right, Lindsay? Right.
She's saying,
She's
you there?
asking, am I there? I am there, but you don't know I'm there.
Yeah.
It's a mess.